Let's talk about their next album. Came out 5 years, 5 years later, right? 5 years later.
Yep, 2009.
And this, I'm gonna go first because I know you have a lot to say, but I will say this. Well, full disclosure: if you want to go more in depth with this next album, 21st Century Breakdown, we're not going to spend too much light on it, but because full disclosure, we did our very first episode of Career Retrospectives. We talked about this album in its entire fucking hour, so check it out there too. This album, when I read a critic review recently, just when the album first came out, like 2000. I read Rolling Stone's review of it, and one of the things that caught my attention was this is the same band that once said on record that like I've got no motivation. Where is my quoting Longview? This is the same band that wrote Longview that made American Idiot and 21st Century Breakdown. Because the review was like 5 stars, like album of the year, best album they've ever, whatever. I love this record. It is a great album. It is an hour and 9 minutes long. I don't care how long it is. It's a great album. Broken into 3 acts. Kyle, share some love.
All right, so I'm gonna keep this one relatively short because of the video that we've done previously on it. Now, we just talked about how great American Idiot was. This album, while not being as iconic and not having nearly as many hits as American Idiot,
correct,
it took what American Idiot did and built on it. Mm-hmm. Now, people can argue, oh, they just tried to make American Idiot again. I don't think that's necessarily the case. Yes, it's another like concept album in a way, but it's not like a story like American Idiot was. It's more of a loose concept. And man, this album, front to back, is, full disclosure, my favorite album of all time. Every time I hear this, like American Idiot, it's like the first time I'm hearing it all over again. It's so good. The production on it, I'm going to say it's my favorite production, like production-wise, Green Day's best album. Best they've ever sounded. The amount of care and work that went into this album is absolutely insane. I mean, Billy's gone on record saying that making this album was extremely difficult on him. Now, I do wish that it performed better on the charts. I think that Butch Vig I would love to see them work with him again. Having said that, I think that them going back with Rob Cavallo is the right choice at this time. If we ever do get another Butch Vig produced album again, I'll be very happy. I think he did incredible on this. But man, just like American Idiot, every song on this, incredible front to back. Flows so well. Can't say enough about how good it is. If you want to hear like more of my in-depth thoughts on it, you can go back and listen to or watch our previous video podcast on it. But really, they kicked up what they did on American Idiot. The amount of just overlapping guitar parts, acoustics, piano on here.
Yeah.
Billy's vocals on this, I think, are the best overall performance he's ever given on vocals on an album consistently. He sounds incredible front to back. We had the longest wait between Green Day albums ever from American Idiot to this point, given we did get Foxborough Hot Tubs like halfway through, and that was a fun side project as well. But God, the songwriting on this album, I don't think can be rivaled by anything that they've done before or since, with the exception of American Idiot. But even then, this album has 3 of my favorite Green Day songs of all time on it. 21st Century Breakdown, the title track. What a way to open the album, coming off Song of the Century like that. American Eulogy, another one of my favorites. I feel like it doesn't get as much love as it should. And The Static Age, great song. I will say about this album, I don't think, much like Nimrod, I don't think the singles were picked very well.
I agree.
I think that 21st Century Breakdown, fantastic single choice, given it is slightly long for a single at the time, 2009. That's when songs really started to be shorter on the radio.
I agree.
East Jesus Nowhere, I think, was a pretty good choice. 21 Guns, excellent choice, even though it got overplayed to death. Know Your Enemy, I thought was a terrible choice. Now, keep in mind, this was the lead single of this album. This album was also the first time as a Green Day fan that I got to experience an album cycle beginning, like from the beginning. I remember I happened to be homesick from school the day Know Your Enemy dropped. I had no idea it was coming out. All of a sudden, it was just like, oh, there's a new Green Day song. I was like, oh, keep in mind, this is like 2009, and internet and social media wasn't exactly what it is today.
Mm-hmm.
So I just happened to see it online. I was like, oh, no way. I listened to it and I thought, wow, I am super let down by that after what American Idiot was. I was expecting so much bigger. So I think that they should have done something different for that. Like Before the Lobotomy, I think should have been a single. I think Last Night on Earth would have made a great radio single. But anyway, I'll kind of wrap it up there just because of, we've touched on this album so much. The only song that I would put as a potential low point, but I think it works in context of the album itself, Christian's Inferno.
Okay.
It works in context of the album. It's not really the greatest song on there, if we're going to be honest. But I adore this album. I have so many great memories with it, and I would love to see the return to form in like this style at some point. And if we get that, I'll be happy. And if not, that's fine too. I still have this album.
Well, I agree with you that the single, I agree with you on the singles. The 21 Guns being released as single, very smart choice.
Yes.
East Jesus Nowhere. It's 4 minutes long. Could it have been a good single? I don't know offhand. 21st Century Breakdown, I agree. It's a great choice for a single. They could have. Did they do a radio edit for it or no?
I don't believe there's a radio edit. So the thing with 21st Century Breakdown, the single choices is most of the songs people don't even. So there was a single edit. It was not much shorter, just cut down the intro, I believe.
Yeah.
What a lot of people don't realize is a lot of songs that were singles, people don't even realize were singles because they didn't do that well.
Right. Unfortunately.
They did do a great live performance. I forget what award show it was of East Jesus Nowhere. Might have been the Grammys. But that was good. Last of the American Girls is an okay choice, I guess, but it's a little, I don't know.
Wasn't that about Billy's wife at all? I forgot that.
Yeah.
This is your favorite album of all time. This is your favorite Green Day album of all time.
Mm-hmm.
For me personally, the standout tracks for me, and I'll get to why I love it so much in a second too. But the title track, 21st Century Breakdown, Know Your Enemy, Viva La Gloria is phenomenal. It really showed how they can do the piano well.
Yep.
Last on Earth, I think, is a great ballad. Truthfully, I mean, Last on Earth, I think is just it's wonderful. Closed out their heroes and cons section. East Jesus Nowhere is just, I think it's violent. It's just a violent guitar driven, so I love it. I do like Last of the American Girls a lot, actually, truthfully. Viva La Gloria, Little Girl is it's like part 2, I guess you could say, to Viva La Gloria. Still great though. And what's the other one? It's fun. And 21 Guns, it's funny. 21 Guns. I don't know if you found this interesting or not, but 21 Guns charted on the Hot 100 number 21. The song is called 21 Guns. It is 5 minutes and 21 seconds long. And on top of that, it is on an album called 21st Century Breakdown. I don't know if you ever picked up on that, but I just thought that was so fascinating.
It's a perfect storm. And
yeah.
Also, just want to say, just think about 21 Guns, just think about the overall era of the band here.
Yeah.
Not only is this my favorite like musically my favorite album. Aesthetically, their merch designs, their tour like backdrops, uh the album artwork on this, ever like the liner notes, all the artwork associated with this and the style of the band, like their outfits themselves.
Yeah.
By far my favorite, like aesthetically wise era of the band.
Yeah, and I gotta say, just sort of side note, ending with "See the Light," the ending of that song loops back to the opening of 21st Century Breakdown with the opening of the chords there.
Yeah, and American Eulogy, same thing with Song of the Century. So I
Yep.
love that they end it with those two callbacks.
Like this is again, guys, this is the same band that was saying, "I got no motivation. Where is my motivation?" in Longview. It's the same exact band. They matured, they grew up so well. I loved it. I love this album truthfully. The question is, my friend, where? Well, you kind of already said it, but just for the record, where does 21st Century Breakdown hold up for you as Green Day Records comes along?
Number one. It's gotta be number one. It's gotta be. If we're talking like, so with my list, it's all purely my opinion on my list here. Like I'm not taking into consideration how well albums did or like cultural impacts. Because I mean, if we're talking cultural impact, it's got to be American Idiot. But for me personally, 21st Century Breakdown, it's the Green Day album.
I put it at "Don't Kill Me." No. It's in my. It's actually number 2.
All right.
It is my number 2.
I thought you were going to say number 13 for a minute there.
It is my number 14 album. I put Shenanigans above it, clearly. 110% there. No. I'm just kidding. Honestly, though, I will say this. Everything from the production, again, if you can go back and listen to our initial episodes of Career Retrospectives, the production, the introduction of other instruments, the usage of different sounds, different effects, they're continuing off of American Idiot. And to be fair, I looked up this. You mentioned about the chart success. As far as the Hot 100 goes, they're really only known for "Know Your Enemy" and 21 Guns from this album. But I will say this: the actual what do you call it? The actual charting of the album, it charted number 1 like all across the world, like Japanese number 1, Italy, Australia, no, number 2. The Billboard 200, it was like Spanish, Spain, like the UK. It was one of their best charting albums because it was coming off of American Idiot.
Oh yeah, coming off American Idiot, and they didn't drop the ball coming off American Idiot either. Whereas I wouldn't say they dropped the ball personally, in my opinion, as we saw with my place on the list. But like Dookie into Insomniac, was a little jarring. Like they didn't so much build on Dookie as they did just make a completely different sound. This album, they took American Idiot and said, we can do more with that.
Yeah. And they did. They really pulled it together really well. And it was just an overall incredible, like just a, I don't use this word often, but I'm gonna say this is a perfect album.
I would agree.
It is my number 2 though, because I do love American Idiot, but this is my number 2. And one last thing though before we go on, this album I feel like doesn't get the credit it deserves because it was a lot of work put into it. It was a full on a ton of work for the band, and they put out a product that I think should be shined on more than it already is.
I could not agree more. I think even the band themselves, they need to bring these songs back into the set list.
I mean, even if they open up with Song of the Century and then go to 21st Century Breakdown again.
Yep, I'd even be fine with that. Just please get rid of Know Your Enemy. I don't need that in the set list anymore. It's fun when you're there. I would just love a different song. Even throw in East Jesus Nowhere. That song killed live. I do enjoy hearing 21 Guns live though, so they can keep that one.
Yeah,
I would just like at least one song from this album other than the usual 2.
Hell, I wouldn't mind. To be honest, I would not even mind. What's the one? Last of the American Girls, or even
that'd be great too. And literally anything. Give me anything from it again.
Yeah, or even the American Eulogy. Anyone?
I would kill for that one.
Exactly.
I think I only heard that live once in person.
Lucky. I will say that. Lucky you. Anyways, 21st Century Breakdown. My number 2, Kyle's number 1.